Now I'm really alive today. Really alive today. Not quite jacked up with enough caffeine, but that should be solved shortly. The Christmas chaos is officially over at this household. Now poor Sarah's getting sick. You know, this lovely little bug that hijacked the plane coming home. Oh well, is what it is. Now, quick note. So I had the backup channel still moves along on its own. I believe it has a handful of videos. It's like a year behind, I think, than this channel loading up the same content just for when some important issues come up here and I get my little attitude and I let it rip anyway, and then I get deleted off of here and possibly booted off for good. Who knows, whatever. What I did learn from the past of getting in trouble with the Nazis that own this thing, this platform, is when you get in trouble on this channel, you can still post on your secondary channel. It's not all together. I'm sure they'll change that and clue in soon enough. But anyway, so that's why the backup channel is what it is. And it clearly says it's a backup channel for people who may go on there and blow a gasket for repeat videos. Anyway, that channel got a strike and got removed. Not removed, I guess I couldn't do anything with it for a week. And what I'm curious about is, what about the community page? I know it's videos. Videos on this platform is what they have automatic filters going on, looking for keywords to make sure that you're not speaking any real truth out there on certain topics. But I wonder if it's the same with text. Like, let's just say I was to copy and paste some kind of a write-up on the community page. I wonder if you can get a strike or spanking for a text post on here. Obviously, you do for a video post, right? That's a curious question I have right now. What else? The mind goes blank. I hit record, the mind goes blank. So many things I'd like to bring up with my gang of people. My people here. And then it comes to me later on, and that's when you get your rants in the videos. But I got a lot to share. A lot to share. Always got a lot to share. I was talking to the great Dr. Melba Ketchum last evening. She's such a good lady. She's eager to do another video chat. I don't know when. Fairly hopefully soon. Because I definitely have a handful of questions I need to throw down for all of us. What else? That's about it for right now. My brain will kick in a minute. Here's my new toque that I bought on my own. Sarah doesn't like it. She also doesn't like it when I put the glasses on the outside of it. Or these glasses! I love terrorizing that poor girl. Woman. Lady. And don't kid yourselves. She terrorizes the shit out of me. Alright, now, where are we going to start? Oh, you know what? Right off the bat, before I forget, there we go, there's something. I had a video forwarded to me. I don't know how to copy videos from social media. I just don't. I'm sure there's a tool somewhere to do it. I don't have the time to do it, but I screenshot the photos from it, which for me were good enough, but it was something very significant, something that's been seen by many people in the past, similar scenes, and it's from Australia, and it shows, it's in the semi-soft dirt sand. I'll post up the pictures here, and it shows the typical barefoot, large, flat-footed, barefooted, five-toed, human-like footprints in a straight line with what looks to be like a 6-foot stride, with an obvious drag mark of it dragging a wild hog with it in the sand, and it tore the thing in half and left it there. What? Quite the video. I'm sure there's a lot of people there who have seen it. If you know of the original people who came across this scene, myself being familiar with video, I am very familiar with wild hogs. I don't know what could tear a mature wild hog in half at the midsection. I haven't a clue. We've all seen, you can Google it up, you can see, I think I've seen videos of a tiger on wild boar. I mean, still they have a tough time, right? The hide on wild hogs, wild boars, is like leather. It's nasty. I don't know if there's anything that we are familiar with that could even twist the head of a wild hog and to break its neck with all that meat and gristle and that shield of hide they have on it. So that I don't even imagine what the poundage, what that strength must be. It would be absolutely ridiculous. How could you even mimic that? I'm trying to picture, how could you get a hog? I mean, obviously you can cut one in half easy. And I know I did not see the severed edges of that carcass, but that is quite the video display. And for somebody to go out of the way to make that video, I don't know how they would have done it, because there's no human prints or any kind of tire marks or anything on either side of that drag mark, right? Something else. It's amazing as caught on video. It's a pretty cool video to see. And I would love to have the original, one of those guys on the video, contact me if they want to tell me all about it and tell me who they are, what they were doing, and what they thought about that scene they came across. But it's something else. I mean, seriously, how would you do it? You'd have to have the bottom. If I wanted to tear a wild boar in half, what am I going to do without using a knife? I don't know. You would have to wedge it in something. First off, the bottom half or the top half, you'd have to clamp it in something like, I don't know, between two massive logs to pinch it off. Yeah, this would be one way, would be to pinch it in half with some serious pressure, or wrap a chain around it and hydraulic, a winch, whatever, I don't know. Anyways, there you go. There's the photos. Quite the scene, right? Don't tell me you wouldn't be looking around your shoulder after finding that. And furthermore, picture the motive and the attitude of the being that did that. If that's what allegedly happened, but picture it, man. What was that? Why? Why would you go out of your way to catch that looks to be about a maybe 180-pound hog? Maybe. First off, you're going to go out of your way to catch it? Or what? Did you beat it in the head with a rock and murder it and pick it up and carry it along and just screw everybody? And you're just marching along your way as a grumpy son of a bitch that day or something? I don't know. What a display. What was that display meant to say? Why would you even do that? I'm trying to picture me. We've all been grumpy. I'm like, what would make me want to go in the forest? And maybe the equivalent of that for me would be to catch a rabbit, pull it in half, and throw it on either side of my trail and keep storming through the forest by myself. What's going on in my head? What I'm saying is, what's going on in your head to do that? Yeah. Crazy, right? Excuse me. Oh, coincidentally, here's one titled Australian Experience. Random. Let's read it. Okay, firstly, I'm a person who was born with past life memories and have vision throughout my life. I see and hear what many don't. We all have these abilities, but few ever exercise their psychic abilities. And if you don't use it, you lose it over time. Being born with past life memories is a blessing as when you lose loved ones. You know it's okay. They have just dropped their body. Like we put on clothes and take them off. Our consciousness is immortal, and our light body is the mirror image of our physical one. I've left my body meditating and walked the sky with full awareness, visited starships and flown along song lines that connect planets. Yep, I'm a starseed. And as a child, I was homesick, so every night I would fly along green song lines that connect Earth to my home planet. Sirius Dog Star. And I was visited by orbs of green electrical lighting in my bedroom. Alright. Alright, this is titled A Night with Arizona 4. Alright, here we go. Hello, Steve. Feel free to use my name, Claude Anderson, when you read this email. As stated in the subject matter, I was able to spend a few hours with Kevin at Sasquatch camp. This was due, in part, with your help in giving the Arizona 4 my contact information, and for that I thank you. I was contacted this past February by Chuck. We had a very long conversation over the phone that morning. I told him of some of my encounters with the forest people. I also asked Chuck if it would be possible for me to join up with the Arizona 4. He stated that it was not completely up to him, but would arrange a meeting. This meeting took place May 10th, Wednesday, before Mother's Day weekend. We met up at a small diner that morning in Heber Overgard. Kevin was there, Chuck and Wayne, great guys, and I had the utmost respect for all three of them and their knowledge of the forest people. The seating arrangement that morning was Kevin to my right, Wayne sitting across from him, and Chuck sitting across from me. I had so many questions to ask them, and they gladly answered all of them. As Chuck was answering one of my questions, Wayne looked at Kevin and said, "Do you feel that?" Kevin replied, "Yes." Then Chuck stated that he too had felt it. Then Wayne looked at me and said, "Claude, did you feel anything?" I said, "Yes, I got a tingle down my spine just now." Wayne then looked at Kevin and said, "They know we are talking to him." Where we were having breakfast was only 2, maybe 3 miles from the Mogollon Rim. Chuck had told me that there was at least 5 clans that lived along the rim of the Heber Overgard to Payson, Arizona. After that, my next question to all of them was, "Do you believe in being tagged or connected to the forest people?" Wayne looked at me and stated, "Claude, all 4 of us here are tagged. You've been tagged for some time now and just didn't know it." Again, it was good. It was a good meet and greet. As we were leaving, Kevin stated, "Claude, I may go out this weekend to camp. Would you care to join me?" I said, "Yes, but I need to clear it with my better 3/4." Kevin gave me his number to contact him with, and after getting the okay to go, I called Kevin and told him I could meet up with him Friday afternoon, stay the night, and then we would have to leave Saturday morning. Kevin agreed and sent me the directions on how to get to camp. I have to say I was looking forward to the night and what may take place. So, that Friday I loaded up our 4Runner and headed to camp. The only thing I can say is that by far it is at least 15 miles off the main road in the middle of nowhere and 7,500 feet above the sea level in the mountains. When I reached camp, Kevin was all set up and we sat around a fire ring. But this was to be a cold camp. Kevin is a vast amount of knowledge, but he stated no expert, just like myself. Now, as we were talking, another gentleman arrived at camp, and his name was Paul. Now, Paul is a true believer, but as stated by him, never had an encounter with them. He was hoping that this night would be his first. We all 3 of us sat around this fire pit again. No fire, just talking. Kevin was to my right and Paul to my left in a semicircle. Paul asked about some of my encounters that I did share with him. Just before dusk set in, the air started to feel electric to me. I was being zapped with small tingles. I asked Kevin if he felt them, and he said yes. I asked Paul the same question. He said no. Kevin then went to his truck and brought out a Bluetooth speaker, set it up about 10 yards from us, and turned it on. Kevin was playing Native American music, and I found it to be very soothing, to say the least. Then Kevin stated, "Let's be quiet and keep our eyes and ears open." So we did. I'm guessing at the time frame here, but I would say it was 45 minutes after playing the music that white orbs started showing up of all sizes, from golf ball to basketball. They were just floating in front of us, and then the eye shine started. Okay. Freaked out level at about now, if that was one of you at the fire circle. Sorry. Saw two ravens with two big mouthfuls of something flying through the timber. Hope it's not for my chicken coop. Sorry. I could make out 3 sets. One was at least 8 feet off the ground beside a tree, and the other 2 were beside it and lower to the ground. I asked Kevin, "Do you see the eyes?" And again he said yes. Paul also seen them, just in a different location. The eyes I saw and watched that night were white. Not a fire engine red or orange, just a bright white. The ones Kevin and I were watching were maybe 30 yards from us, just at the edge of the woods. When I'd look at them, the one that was the tallest would duck behind the tree. The 2 below that one would just disappear. Thinking back now, they more than likely just close their eyes. Then they would all 3 reappear. This went on for 10 minutes or so. At one time, Kevin stated, "You can come over here and sit with us if you like." That didn't happen. And soon thereafter, they just orbed out, going back into the woods. My excitement level was high after that, and the conversation continued. While speaking to Kevin, Paul stated, saying, Guys, look to my 9 o'clock. So as I started to look in the direction he was looking at, a very bright light started to appear. Not a perfect circle, and looked somewhat light tan in color to me. It just kept getting closer and closer. Then it stopped between 2 trees some 50 yards or so from us and just hovered there. Then what I saw next, amazing. What looked like a molten liquid started swirling in it. Kevin made the comment when this started, "You can come out and sit with us if you'd like." Steve, I'm not sure just how long this was taking place once it started. It was as if time stood still for me. Then liquid inside stopped, and it started backing off the same way it came, and then just disappeared. I looked at Kevin and asked him, "Was that a portal?" And he said, "Yes, it was." My jaw hit the ground when he said this. Paul was in utter amazement himself. Kevin and I continued to talk more about what had happened and other topics as well. Paul had fell asleep during this time, and then at about 10:30 p.m. he woke up, probably from adrenaline dump. He stated he was tired and ready to hit the sack, and Kevin stated he was too. I said I was ready also. The next thing that happened was not good at all. I stood up out of my chair, and it felt like I got hit upside the head with a bat. I had instant headache, and I had to grab the back of my chair to steady myself. Then just one word come into my thoughts that sounded like a raspy old male. That word was leave. All I could think of was I needed to get out of there. I told Kevin that my head hurt like a son of a bitch, and I needed to leave. Kevin took hold of my arm and said out loud, "Whoever's causing this, could you please stop?" Well, that didn't happen. I said, "Kevin, I need to leave. I feel like I might get sick." He asked me if I was okay to drive, and I said yes. So once I started out of camp, I feel this damn dreaded feeling that a rock or a limb was going to come through my windshield. Remember, we were at least 15 miles off the main road, and that feeling didn't stop until I was on the main road headed home. I arrived home at around 1:30 a.m. and was very upset. Lisa asked me, "Why are you home?" So I told her the same thing as I just did here, and then I went to bed. I was pissed, upset, along with other emotions as to what just happened. This is the third time I'd been zapped with the dreaded feeling they can make you feel. How I don't know, but I'm not the only person who has had this happen to them. It just drains you when it happens. I wrote into you, I think, the winter of 2021, telling you about my camping encounter that September with my dog Peach. That was the second time this has happened to me. The first was in 1994 while hunting, and a run-in with one of them. I was a cop when this one happened. The next morning when I got up, I opened my computer and I erased any and everything about the forest people along with friends. I had enough of this dreaded feeling and just stepped away from it all. A good friend of mine in Mesa, Arizona, Dave, who is a researcher himself and also knows the Arizona Forest as well, he asked me in an email, "How are you doing today?" I wrote back, "Not good, give me a call." So Dave was the only person who I told outside of Lisa. He said jokingly, "Man, they have it for you, don't they?" I said, "I'm not sure, other than back in 1994 when I ran into the one there." So as stated, I just stepped away from it all until a friend who I had helped get his podcast up and running asked me if I was ready to do a second show. This was late July this year, so I agreed to do the podcast, and I told the same stories here. Now, in between all this time, I never tried to contact Kevin, Chuck, or Wayne. I just kept wondering what Kevin's thoughts were on all this. So late August this year, I reached out to Kevin and asked him if he could set a breakfast date in Payson. He wrote back to me with the time and a date. When I asked Kevin what his thoughts were on what happened that night, at first he was upset with me for not telling him that I was told to leave. He said he might have been able to make things right. I reminded him that he had asked them to stop, and they didn't. A week before this meeting, I was having a coffee one afternoon on our patio with our dog, Piper, sitting on my lap, and all of a sudden she started a low growl and was looking up at the corner of our apartment building. I said, "What's up, girl?" and I looked over her head in the direction she was looking. That was when I saw what at first appeared to be a swarm of bugs. Then I could see again the liquid floating around inside of it. I spoke out loud and said, "You know I can see you." And then all movement stopped just like that, and it hovered about 10 feet off the ground. I said, "You're scaring the hell out of my dog. Why are you here?" And then I said, "Do you believe in the great creator?" And then the movement started again. After a few seconds, it just disappeared around the corner of our apartment. When I told Kevin, Chuck, and Wayne of this taking place, Kevin and Wayne both said, "He's being watched." Since that day, I have been visited 4 more times, along with a couple of midnight visits. The midnight visits again had my mind speak happen, along with hard zaps of the tingles from head to toe, no dreaded feeling. Steve, to me, 80% of my puzzle is complete. That being, Steve, to me, 80% of my puzzle is complete. That being, they do use portals, mind speak, and cloaking. Other factors about them as well. Thanks for sharing this. Keep up the great work, and you are 100% right about the evil that walks on this earth right now. Chuck, Kevin, and Wayne, if you hear this, thanks for everything, and if possible, I'd like another shot at joining the group. Thanks, Claude Anderson. Well, and there you go. So, my thoughts on this? Not that they mean shit. I don't know, man. You know, there is 110% more going on out here in what should be called our real world than we know. Was it an 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, human-like being that was doing this to you? I don't know. I haven't a clue. You didn't see that, right? Like, let's face it, you guys. There wasn't any report of a 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, man-like being standing there in any of this. So, how do you know? You know what I mean? How do you know it's one of those beings with that physical description that tens of thousands of people have seen? Although, I'm not saying it wasn't, I'm just saying, is there a chance that there's something else a little more dark showing up? Right? I haven't a clue, I don't know anything. But that's what I'm wondering. I'm like, wow. What is it that you're conjuring up? You know, and then my memory goes back to that poor dude in the South. I forget who even had the video. I think it was, what's his name? Kerry. Forget his name. Poor guy passed away. They had a video of this guy who was a researcher doing the same shit as many other people do. Put on the camouflage clothes, going out, beating on trees, trying to conjure something up. And that guy brought something to him that changed his whole being, his whole life, for a bad way. And was sounded like more or less screwing him right over between the ears, right? Saying that you guys are our prey. We toy with you, I'm gonna kill you. And apparently this being, whatever it was, this entity, had him pinned in a chair, wouldn't let him get up. What was that? Right? I don't think he saw whatever it was that was doing it to him, but again, with his particular incident, it wasn't an 8 to 10 foot tall, hairy, human-like being standing there holding him down, looking him in the eyes. It was something. It was something not in a physical form, right? That shit freaks the shit out of me. I don't need that in my life. Right? And then I refer instantly back to my First Nation superhero ladies who said flat out, you don't contact them. You do not communicate with them. You don't contact them. How many times have I predominantly heard from our native community of various continents, you don't communicate with them. Right? And here I am making plans to go down to potentially put myself in the same position. But I'm doing it with people that I trust. And again, before a lot of you people are going to freak out, don't do it. I haven't committed to taking the walk to the forest yet. Like I said, it's I make the decision for me on my inside. So I have to go down there, look everybody in the eyes, feel their energy, speak to them thoroughly, and I will know. I'll know what to do when that time comes, all right? Whether or not to take that final walk over the edge of the forest in the night, right? Because I don't need this shit. I don't need... I don't do well with being threatened to date by anybody or anything. I don't do well with threats. So, to picture me being in my real world, this is my world, this is my home, my planet, it's yours too. I have zero guilt for being alive today on the face of this planet, no matter where I'm standing. Nothing. I belong here. Period. Just like all of you. And for me so it's my home. Right? And the worst thing you can do is threaten any man at his home. Right? I've just got that shitty attitude. It's alright. No apologies, actually. It's just the way I am. I don't know where it comes from. But I'm just trying to picture how I would deal with some old raspy voice in my head saying, leave. I'd probably be like, fuck you. You leave, prick. And then what's gonna happen, right? And who is it? Who's doing that? Why are they doing that? I'm babbling. Questions, right? Be careful what you ask for, you guys. Be careful what you seek out in this lifetime. Careful, careful. Tread lightly. Do the right thing. Listen to your gut instincts, you know? There's some crazy ass shit going on in the world. Some potentially life-changing, forever things going on in this world today things you may or may not want to conjure up and trigger and have come into your life and not leave it. That would really suck, you know? Meanwhile, you're just out having a weekend time to go learn and experience something. Meanwhile, it changes your life forever, and you're never, ever the same. And then you gotta quit doing the stuff that you love to do. Anyways, I'm trying to get comfortable here. Here we go. What's this? This is titled Remote Logger Story Triggered Epiphany. Tyler's email. Hello, Steve. Use my name. I don't care less what anyone else thinks. That's in their head, not mine. Welcome to the world of the free and the brave. Glad to have you aboard. I was listening to you share experiences, and someone said that if everyone saw one of those beings, they would wake up. That was as far as I got into that story because a bit of understanding about my encounter clicked into place. I was traveling with my cousin in her van when the traffic light on a highway turned red late at night, and there were no other vehicles in sight and no vehicle on the road, which was the only way to get that light to change. This thing in the crosswalk was laying face down. I believe it was what caused the light to change. It fluttered up a few feet and then turned towards us, swooping up twice before coming to a stand in front of the van with its arms outstretched, hands on the rim of the top of the van. It has glowing red eyes lit from within. It was staring at me. I gripped the armrests and pushed myself so far back into the seat I'm surprised it didn't break. No doubt. I stayed completely still, holding my breath. Terrified? Understatement. I felt violated, like it was accessing parts of my soul that I had never explored. My mind broke into 1,000 voices. All my voice. All questions. I heard them all at the same time, yet I could hear each one individually too. And this is where the experience you shared hit me. When it was staring at me, I think it was searching my mind for what I would do next, almost going forward in time in my head, reading my future thoughts. That was why I heard all those questions at once. Only I hadn't asked them yet. I think it wanted to see if I would do anything when it turned its gaze to my cousin. I feel in my case it seems as though they can manipulate time with us, reading my future thoughts, to see if I would become a threat, without having to expend as much energy as it would to do a memory loss accompanied by time loss event. It may be easier for them to do this with people who are in tune with the world around them, who are open-minded, or those with varying degrees of clairvoyance, ESP, etc. I believe we are not utilizing our brain's capacity, features, abilities, and powers, whatever you want to call them, because we are not taught how. If you don't use it, you lose it. Public school is a conditioning, and it may be there so we don't or can't tap into this potential. All the best to you and yours, Kimberly Sumagawa. Hope I pronounced your name correctly, Kimberly. That's a terrifying frickin' description of what went down. There's a lot of knowledge I'm missing yet when it comes to various crazy ass shit, but when something like that gets reported in, and as soon as I hear that this being may be looking into your eyes and looking for the answers, what you might do next, are you a threat? Well, why even go to the van? Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's... It doesn't make sense to me for something to be laying there. Oh, here comes the van. I think I'm going to swoop up, grab you the side of it, and look into the windshield and see if I might get threatened or not. Doesn't make sense. I'm not saying that's not what was going on. I'm just saying that's not something I'd do, right? If I see a van coming and I'm not sure if it's going to be a threat inside it or not, I'm going to be looking at a 454 or a 44 Desert Eagle pointed at my forehead. I ain't flying up no van. There's nothing inside that van I need or want anything to do with. I'm not even gonna go near it. I'm not even gonna be on a road. So it's just a lot of questions that need to be answered. You know what I mean? Like, how did something like this get to be right there on a road when we are possibly the easiest beings on the face of the planet to be avoided? We are so dumb on average. It'd be no different than us trying to avoid cattle in an open field surrounded by timber, right? You just don't go near them. Those cattle are about as dumb as a pickle. Got nothing I want to do with them. I don't understand how these beings are allowing themselves to all of a sudden, boom, be there in our face or in our pathway. And then even potentially coming up for some kind of face-to-face encounter, exchange. I don't understand. Looking at your eyes. What are they looking for? Who are they looking for? Who are they looking for? What are they testing the two beings in the van for? Who might be in there, behind our eyeballs, between our ears? Who might be there? I'm thinking that might make more sense. Right? Are they potentially here to eliminate the few with the right DNA strands in their makeup? Maybe. Maybe that might be a real strong possibility, right? Just might be. Yes, we are definitely 110% being conditioned. We have been conditioned to not reach our potentials. For certain. We have been conditioned to reach our potential to feed the system. If that makes any sense. Some people are going to be thinking I've been smoking something this morning, and some people are going to be right there knowing what I'm throwing down. We have been conditioned to see a pinnacle of where we can reach that fits into feeding this system, right? We are not being taught to reach our true potential of what we should truly be able to do, which would include absolute freedom, right? We can't be brought to our potential. We just can't be brought to that place without it accompanying absolute freedom. So there you go. There's your answer to why we aren't. There's your answer to why we're being conditioned, right? The government only cares about absolute control of the labor to appease the entity. There you go. Fits like a glove. Unfortunately, right? Anyway, hopefully we're all breaking free together here. It's slow, tedious process. It's painful. It's confusing. It's like a rite of passage, right? It's like a rite of passage having to go through all this frickin' confusing shit to hopefully be able to get to the next level on our own, free. Hope I made sense there. Probably not. How about a little shot of caffeine as the crowd goes, "No! Stop him! Don't give him any caffeine!" The adventure dog's out there chewing on a leg bone pulled out of the freezer. You hear that sound in the background? No, it's not tree bangs. My 2 sightings of Sasquatch. Here we go. Hello, Steve. I hope this story finds you in good health and good spirits. And you too, my friend. Please leave my name out of the story, as I'm a business owner here in British Columbia, and my story has not been received very well by most of the people I told it to. Send them the videos. People are very quick to judge or ridicule others if they have not experienced the same situation. I'm an avid hunter and outdoorsman, and I have no problem identifying animals at long or short distances. I know what I saw. My first sighting of a Sasquatch. This is the name we always used for them. It was in early February 2015. I was driving home in a bit of a hurry as I was late to pick up my son for his hockey practice. I was driving a stretch of BC Highway 97D, Logan Lake, I think, that I drive pretty much every day for work. Now, I've been traveling on this highway most of my life, since the road was rebuilt in the 80s, so I'm quite familiar with the sights along the side of the road. On this particular evening, the sun was already down and it was getting hard to see off the sides of the road. I drove around a corner and started down a straight stretch that was about 400 meters in length, and I saw it immediately. It was something out of place in my mind, something that I had never seen there before. At first, from a distance, I thought I was looking at a moose that was standing facing directly towards me. It was too big to be anything else in my mind. It was standing in a clearing on the right side of the road, and as my car approached, I was expecting to see the back end of a moose, but it never materialized. The Sasquatch was perfectly cut-lined on the contrast of the snow. At my closest point, I was probably about 50 meters away, and I could clearly see muscle definition in his broad shoulders. There were long hairs hanging off his forearms, but the rest of his body was covered in short hair that seemed to be a reddish-brown in color. It appeared to be 8 feet tall and around 500 pounds. It didn't move a muscle as I drove by, as if it was hoping to not be seen, almost as if it had gotten caught off guard while trying to cross the highway. Other cars were driving towards me from the opposite direction, but I knew they would not see what I saw as the terrain blocked the view from their direction. They would have to drive past and turn to look behind them to see it. I continued to drive around the next corner as I tried to process and come to terms with what I had just seen. I struggled to understand it for about 2 kilometers before I could breathe again. I know there have been other sightings in our area over the years, but I think they are rare. Yes, there has been a lot. I know people firsthand as well. Later that spring, late May I believe, I walked my 2 large dogs, 90 pounds, 120 pounds, down a dirt road that ran near the area where I'd seen the Sasquatch in February. My dogs are always off leash when I walk them in the woods, and they run all over the place. Never more than about 100 meters away, but also never within 20 meters of me unless I recall them. The walk had started out in just this way for the first 40 minutes. And then suddenly, as we approached an area that had pockets of very thick trees and brush, both the dogs came running straight to me. They fell in beside me so close that they were touching my legs on either side and staring intently into the woods to our right. This is extremely unusual behavior, and that they had never exhibited before. I immediately got a strange feeling that I did not want to go any further down this road. We quickly turned around and headed back to the truck. Once we were a fair distance away from the thick bushy area, the dogs returned to the normal activity and behavior, and there's no longer a sense of danger. I've not walked back in this area since that day. I believe there was still a Sasquatch in the area on this day. My second encounter started in early April 2022. I was out getting a truckload of firewood for an upcoming camping trip with my sweetheart. I was alone with my 2 dogs. Not the same 2, as the other 2 passed away a few years ago. However, there were also good-sized dogs at 70 pounds and 110 pounds. I found a beautiful dead standing tree that I cut down. I then let the dogs out to run around and burn off some energy. At first I couldn't get them out of the truck, which is totally weird. Then when I finally coaxed them out, they acted as if they had been scolded and cowled into the truck. I was totally confused, but then I thought, okay, stay under there then. When I turned around to get my saw to start bucking up the tree, I caught some movement from the tree line in the corner of my eye. I guess that comes from years of being in the woods and hunting. I snapped my head in that direction just in time to see a blonde or light brown hair covered, quote, giant man, end quote, run between 2 clumps of trees. Giant man. In case you didn't hear it clearly. In my best guess, it would be around 7 to 8 feet tall and weighed around 400 to 500 pounds. Very fast. Covering about 50 meters in just a second or 2. See, that would be absolutely ridiculous seeing that speed, right? Excuse me. I didn't get the feeling of impending danger this time, though. The dogs eventually came out from underneath the truck, but did not wander more than 30 feet from me on this day. I loaded my truck with firewood and left with no further incidents. No shit, you still stayed and loaded your truck. Wow. The fall 2023, I went to this area to hunt for whitetails, as I had already tagged a mule deer earlier this season. Whitetails are difficult to find on public land in our area, so I walked cross country all over this area for many weeks. I spotted many deer, whitetail, mule deer, moose, bears, and coyotes. No signs of Sasquatch until the very last day of hunting season. That's when I decided to walk into the exact area that I had seen it last year. I had made it more than 100 yards into the woods when I saw the structure. It looked a bit haphazard and like a natural blowdown event, but upon closer inspection, which I did under a great deal of duress, I could see that the structure had been used by a large animal of some sort. It may be a bit of a stretch, but I put two and two together. I'm no expert on the matter by any means, but I feel like I got this one right. It gave me an uneasy feeling being there, and I left without taking any pictures. I will return one day and get you some to send to you. On a side note, I have 4 trail cameras that I put up in that area all hunting season, and I've had very little to show for it. There always seemed to be something wrong with the cameras. One would have a corrupt SD card. Have you ever had that? This is my first. Yeah, I've had a handful for sure. 2 would have dead batteries and no pictures, even though I had replaced the batteries 2 weeks prior. One of the cameras just straight up died. It's a newer camera that was it's a newer camera that was working perfectly in another location earlier this year. Now it won't even turn on. I did eventually get some good footage, but very little after hunting season started. I should also tell you that this area is near where other hunters frequent, but they never seem to go through this particular area. So the whitetails love to hide out in there. Well, that's my story in a nutshell. Love what you're doing. Keep up the good fight, my friend. Order received. I love the 2 products I bought from your online store. Hat and a cell phone case. Right on. Regards, best regards, Ed. Right on, Ed. Appreciate you, man. I'm glad you're still going out. Lots of people wouldn't. The cell phone thing, the trail camera thing. It's a pain in the ass for me because I have so many of them. But I typically have trail cameras from here all the way up to northern BC each year. So I set them all up on my bench in the shop, all of them, SD cards in every single one of them, and I turn them all on record. My cameras are always on record, never photo. If it's on photo, it's an accident. And then I pre-test every single one of them before I throw them in the truck or the box that I take to go with me. It's a far easier way to do it than going out and throwing a camera down and going back and discovering it's screwed. But that being said, I believe I threw away 6 different Bushnell trail cameras this year because they did exactly what you just said. They just died. I've had a couple that just eat the batteries overnight and it's dead. So either it's just major coincidence, random roll the dice for you and your cameras, or maybe possibly something is screwing them over. But me personally with trail cameras, I do know for a fact I set them in areas where these beings frequent. There's no way they don't. But I also have never set a trail camera in hopes of catching one of these beings on them. I just don't. Far too many people have already proven from me that it's a waste of time. So I don't mimic people. I don't mimic people when they fail. So I don't mimic people anyway, but I don't mimic people that fail. Right? And I wonder if possibly that has something to do with my success with my trail cameras. I had one trail camera spun on a tree once intentionally. Without a doubt, that was what did it. But I don't believe I've had any cameras fail or have electronic problems due to these beings doing it intentionally to me. I don't think so. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the cameras, I've had cameras fail right here in the shop. I've had them work. I've had them work for me in the shop. And then I do a double check too. I double check my trail cameras. I check them once, throw them in the box, then I pull them out of the box open, turning on. Good. Turn on. Good. Some reject an SD card. All right. I've got SD cards made by Stealth Camera. Wing 'em. I've got, what's this, SanDisk? Lots of SanDisk. 16 gigs is the max I usually put in a trail camera. 8 to 6. But I have a lot of different flavors of SD cards, and sometimes one camera will reject, it won't turn on. I'll put an SD card in it and it won't even power up until I take that SD card out, turn it on, it turns on. I get another SD card, put it in, it'll turn on. There you go. There's a lot of things that could be suspected to be intentionally done by some kind of other power source somewhere. But I don't think so. Myself, I've had everything that you described happen to me in here in my home, so. But who knows? If you think that might be the culprit, go get a few more trail cameras, maybe even brand new. Test them at home inside, test them at home outside, and then go lay them down on the trail when you're confident they're working 100%, and then see what happens, right? But anyway, minor detail either way. The fact of the matter is, you've seen them. You're a member of the club. You know what's up. You know what's going on. And the people that you said you have shared with and received bad reactions, they're just scared. They don't want to accept that shit. Send them this video, right? Send them this channel. And they'll see just how many people, right? I get not lots of flack. I get a handful of comments here and there. People trying to demean me and tear me down online for what I've done to this channel and where I might be going between my ears in life. Well, what do? Oh, I'm going to be scared of what they think or what they say, so I'm going to change my story or just erase it from being online and not come out here anymore? Fuck that, right? Nope, no apologies. This shit's going on. There isn't a human being big enough to make me change my story or stance. Obviously. You can't handle the truth and wrap your head around it, so I better change my truth for you to accommodate your ass. It's not going to happen. Anyway. Giant hair-covered man. I think is a Gigantopithecus. Said no one ever, except for a few sleazy, lying, lens-whoring pricks. Biting my lip for now. Just for today, let's get some more voices heard, shall we? Side note on that area, imagine, and a quick note to all you people in British Columbia that are familiar with that area. Imagine what probably went down at least once or twice or more times during the construction of the Coquihalla Highway. There is no way during the construction of that highway somebody didn't see something. There's no way. All right, here we go. Excuse me, what do we got here? This is titled, Scared Shitless, and another piece of the puzzle. Hello, Steve. Warning, this email is completely background noise free. Please enjoy. All right. My name is Cheyenne Phillips. Oh. Shane. Oh, sorry. Pronounced Shane. Cheyne. Phillips, pronounced Shane. All right. Gotcha, buddy. I'd like to tell you about the time my wife, Charlotte, and I were up at Lower Bear Reservoir on Highway 88 near Jackson, California. It was early July, and both of us went there to camp out for a night for my birthday. After a copious amount of alcohol and a barbecue, it was time to hit the hay. Near the tent, I noticed some oyster shells by the fire ring that somebody had left there, and I decided to put them in a particular way. I cleared the area around to see what little animals would come and check them out. I arranged them in a way that if anything did touch them, I would know in the morning. Interesting thing to do. Unless you know what may be out there. During the night around 2 a.m., my boxer, Huckleberry, woke me up frantic and terrified. During his freak-out session, we heard what sounded like little pebbles being thrown into the creek right next to us, and some hit the tent as well. The rocks that were being thrown into the creek got progressively bigger during the hour. You could hear the da-dunk and then a da-dunk splash. Towards 3 a.m., both of us got this feeling of being scared beyond belief that we had to leave now. I've grown up in northern Idaho, and the woods is like a second home for me. Second home for me, don't get me wrong. I'm not a big fan of the dark, but this feeling was very obvious and blatant that we needed to get the F out now. I've never felt that ever, nor has my wife either. While we were packing the tent, the crickets went silent. It even seemed like the creek no longer made a sound. It was very weird. We packed up the tent and got out of there ASAP. It was like a Chinese fire drill. Before we left the campsite, I did manage to check out the oyster shells and the area around them. They were completely stacked differently. They were laid out in a very different way, where no raccoon, possum, or skunk or bird could do that. Some were left on the edges, stacked in a circle, that if you barely touched them, they would fall flat. All were arranged in a different pattern. Also, a large area around the shells where I cleared and made clean showed nothing. Nada. No tracks at all. When we left the area, the feeling subsided. Still to this day, both of us have never felt that overwhelming feeling of fear. Both of us have been thinking about the various encounters that people have had with Sabe near a body of water. Lake, creek, river, etc. Most of them end up surprising Sabe to where their ability to sense us goes a bit haywire. Yeah, I noted that way before I came online publicly. Most encounters seem to surprise or catch them off guard when they are around these areas of water. Why is that? Well, we believe it has something to do with our body composition, which is made up of 90% water. When we get near all that water, Sabe can't differentiate us from that body of water nearby. It's like we blend in with the rest of the water around us. It may have to do with the water, the lake, the creek, etc., absorbing our electrical field. I am hoping somebody with more knowledge on this phenomena can expand this idea. Thanks for what you do, Steve. Thanks for taking the time to make these, quote, free-ass videos, end quote, for all of us on a daily basis. Both my wife and I have learned a lot from this channel to add to the old brain toolbox. It's greatly appreciated. Last thing, if I can encourage everybody to do at least one nice thing for another person each day, no matter how big or small the action is, do it because it's the right thing to do, not because it makes you feel better about yourself. Maybe, just maybe, it will become contagious. Oh, one more thing. Don't say my name. Just kidding. You're funny, Shane. That's funny, man. Okay, man. Sincerely, Shane and Charlotte Phillips. Gotcha, buddy. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate you. Appreciate the kindness and the kind words for everybody. Hopefully it goes a lot further than just this second right here, right? The kindness meaning. Yeah, who knows about the water thing? For me, back in the day when I was really intent on figuring out shit on my own, which I think if you're on your own in the woods trying to figure this out, it can be quite challenging. Obviously, the best way, we've discovered the best way, which is all of us together. That's how you learn. But back in the day, I mean, I was just running around the forest, met up with the great late Dr. John Bennernagel and ran a couple ideas I had. I was flying by him, and all I could go by was what I knew from my experience and my grandfather's direct experience and a few other people's direct experience. And I remember being real curious about how my grandfather walked up on that being as it was squatted down at the bank of at the edge of the water, squatted down on the river edge. And my grandfather came along the forest floor and over the bank and slid down his ass, the clay bank, dirt bank, the root overhang clay bank down to the river edge. And only then did that thing spin around and go, whoa! And that moment right there really made a nest in my mind and has never left. But that's how way far back then. Man, that was like, ooh, I didn't want to say it. 30 years ago I became aware of that. Ooh, 30 years. That's been a fresh one in my brain trying to figure that one out. But have noticed the pattern of people surprising these beings while walking along creeks or rivers. Not so much a lake. Creeks and rivers. Why? Right? It's a big, curious question. Why? Do I think it has something to do with us being 90% water? No, not me. Only because of the energy we give off, right? We all have a glow. We all have an energy glow. So I do not believe that us being near a body of water can eliminate our energy that we emit. I don't think our energy just leaves our body and goes phew, into the water to stop it from traveling to another being who might be very aware of the presence of another being through energy. I don't think that's going down, but I don't know. Speculating, right? Speculating and babbling. Anyway, gotta get going. I gotta get caught up in shit. So much to do. I'm just starting to feel healthy. I'm still a little clogged up. But it's funny when you start feeling healthy again after being taken down, you almost have this panic of what you need to get caught up on. Meanwhile, you're not 100% yet, and I haven't lined out what I need to get done, but I know I got a bunch. So, I believe my inbox is full again. Had a few emails saying they were getting messages back. My inbox is full, so I'm going to go on there right now and see if I can delete a whole pile of stuff. You know how many emails that is? I don't know what's in that one email inbox. I think there's like 15,000 emails or something. That's why I have the 2 emails. Share my story at howtohunt.com and tell my story at howtohunt.com. So if that helps you out, if you're trying to get something through and it's clogged up still, you can try that out. Anyway, I'm out of here. As soon as I get going here, I'll try to empty out the share my story at howtohunt.com inbox. I'll try to, there's a whole bunch of crap mail in there as well, obviously. So I'll get that done so that it does not come back at you again. So don't give up trying on share my story at howtohunt.com. If it doesn't work today, I'm sure you'll be able to get an email in there tonight. All right. There you go. The links are in the description below, the usual. And I'll be back again.